When she was about to give birth, an incredible surprise revealed her ex-husband as the doctor. Claire felt the walls of Pine Grove Memorial Hospital swallow her whole as she stepped through the automatic doors. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and the sterile air prickled her skin. She squeezed the strap of her hospital bag tighter, the weight of her situation pressing on her chest. Today was supposed to be the culmination of her hard-fought journey towards motherhood, the dawn of a new beginning. Instead, anxiety clawed at her, and the raw memories of her tumultuous divorce from Tom bubbled to the surface, overwhelming her with unease. The beeping of machines and the hurried footsteps of doctors began to fade into her consciousness as she replayed moments that now felt both familiar and foreign. The laughter shared, the whispered dreams of a family, now tarnished by betrayal. Tom had always been the ambitious surgeon, driven by success and prestige. She no longer recognized the man she once adored, a shadow looming large in her heart. Could this be real? The idea of having him in the delivery room had twisted her stomach into knots of dread. As Claire was ushered into the stark white delivery room, a wave of panic surged through her veins. She took a deep breath, the air heavy with sterile antiseptic. Then, shock pierced the small sanctuary of her mind as the doctor walked in. It was Tom. The very man who had shattered her world was now standing before her, white coat glimmering under the harsh lights. Their eyes locked, and the rush of emotions was instant, an uninvited mixture of anger, vulnerability, and a flicker of something akin to affection. How could he be here now, at the moment she had both yearned for and feared? Her heart raced as their fleeting connection in past years became painfully evident. Should she let him in again, even for this? But he was the one who had turned their dreams into nightmares. Claire's breath grew shallow, her body trembled at the thought of confronting the past. She had fought so hard to build a life alone. Was it worth risking it all again for someone who had walked away when she needed him most? "Claire, I know this is unexpected," Tom started, his voice steadier than she felt. "But I'm here to help you." Before they could further explore their lingering thoughts, an unexpected complication arose. The room exploded into urgency as alarms rang, and nurses rushed past them. Her heart dropped. This was all happening too quickly. Claire could feel the gravity of the situation hanging in the air, while her mind reeled with conflicting emotions. Tom's medical expertise was her only anchor, yet she fought against an instinctive urge to mistrust him. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With the storm of medical chaos engulfing them, Claire's instincts to protect her impending child surged. Tom moved briskly, calling orders, his presence both a source of reassurance and an echo of betrayal. As he communicated with the nurses, Claire found a flicker of admiration, not for the man who had left her shattered, but for the deeply skilled, unwavering doctor working to save them both. Torn, she began to piece together the fractures in their connection. The clock ticked on the wall, each sound punctuating the room like an anchor to her racing thoughts. Doubt seeped into her consciousness. Would she let this man back in? As his intense focus absorbed the chaos, moments of their past flickered in her mind, challenging her perception of who he truly was. In that small delivery room, the specter of their shared history loomed, and Claire realized that this moment, here, now, could redefine everything. The lines drawn in their lives began to blur, leaving only the delicate question of what could be forged anew amidst chaos. Could a bond once broken truly be reforged? The chaos enveloping the room served as a harsh reminder of Claire's precarious situation. Tom's authoritative voice rallied the nurses, guiding them through the crisis with the efficiency of a seasoned professional. As the beeping of machines intensified, Claire felt a wave of emotions crash over her. Fear was paramount, but instinctively she recognized a shred of hope sparked by Tom's presence. In the moments that followed, Claire's mind swirled with every single reason to sever ties with him permanently. Yet, amidst the urgent backdrop, a faint realization bloomed. Perhaps this was also an opportunity for personal growth, an unexpected test of her resilience. The intricacies of motherhood loomed large on the horizon, and how she traversed this moment might realign her understanding of not only Tom but herself. She focused on her breathing, each inhale steadying her resolve while the nurses prepared for the impending delivery. The discomfort of the past felt distant, clouded by the undeniable approach of motherhood. Claire watched Tom as he took control, and beneath the white coat, another layer of him began to emerge, one driven not by ambition, but by the resolve to help, to heal. "Claire, I know you feel overwhelmed," Tom said as he approached her with measured calmness, his eyes softening slightly. "Listen to me. Trust the process. I'll be there for you, on both fronts. I'm here as your doctor, and for our baby." His commitment, while still laced with undertones of their shared history, stirred something deep within her. Claire had spent countless hours contemplating how to best navigate her new life without him, preparing for this moment entirely alone. Now, faced with the man who had once been her partner, she bore down on the possibility of changing her approach, not for him, but for the child she was about to bring into the world. With each contraction, her physical pain ignited a rush of empowered defiance. It wasn't just a rebirth of her achievements as an individual, but the possibility of redefining her entire narrative. She was capable of doing this, even with Tom beside her. The realization was jolting, and an unexpected surge of strength coursed through her. "Let's do this," Claire said, locking her gaze with his, the past pooling around their feet while the future beckoned her forward. The delivery was intense, marked by sharp contractions and determined breaths. For the first time in a long while, Claire felt present. She harnessed each experience, each challenge, as a stepping stone toward building the kind of motherhood she envisioned. As she discovered strength she never knew she had, her perceptions of Tom began to shift. The realization hit her hard. He, too, might be capable of redemption. Slicing through the curtain of uncertainty, the birth team adjusted to a rhythm that mirrored Claire's resolve. Just as she locked her focus, a distinct cry broke through, her baby's first sound. It was a deafening, beautiful noise, ushering Claire into a new realm of motherhood. Tears flowed freely as she cradled her newborn. The weight of all her worries and each heartbreak began to unravel. But even in this moment of joy, the memory of Tom's betrayal loomed, thickening the air. How could she reconcile her feelings towards the man who had hurt her so deeply yet was desperately trying to be part of this new chapter? Battling the mixed sentiments that pulled at her heart, a question arose. Was forgiveness a possibility for them? Or was this merely the beginning of a complicated story, tangled with shared grief and the seed of hope? As Tom approached, a soft smile creeping onto his lips, Claire's heart raced. Their history, once a shadow, now flickered with new potential. Did she dare to explore this complicated bond further? "What does it mean to move forward with you, Tom?" Claire pondered silently. In that moment, the weight of the past intersected with the hope of their future, leading to a powerful new beginning that remained uncertain. Thus, a pivotal decision loomed on the horizon. Could they rewrite their story, or would the unanswered questions cement their separate paths? Claire held her newborn close, a fragile being that surged with life, but the emotional whirlwind within her continued to churn violently. The room, now alive with the sounds of her baby's soft cries, felt too small to contain her thoughts. She had imagined this moment countless times, yet nothing had prepared her for the complexities of joy entwined with uncertainty. As Tom approached, the gravitational pull of her past collided with a sudden reliance on their current reality. She felt the tug of history, the love they had shared, the betrayal that marred it, and the unexpected tenderness he had shown just moments ago. Was it possible to untangle these threads, to weave them into something new? "Congratulations," Tom said gently, his voice barely above a whisper, yet it echoed within her mind, magnified by conflict. "You did it, Claire." For a fleeting moment, she considered his sincerity. His eyes, usually so focused and determined, shimmered with pride and concern, qualities she once adored. Could he be the man he seemed to be in this critical moment? A flicker of hope ignited within her, a desire to see him not just as a remnant of heartache, but as a co-creator of this new life. "What's the plan now?" she replied, maintaining a steady tone even as her heart raced. It was the question that held far more weight than it appeared. Tom hesitated, taking a moment to collect his thoughts. "I'm here for you and our child, Claire. I want to help. You don't have to navigate this alone." A swell of disbelief coursed through her. How could she trust him now? The betrayal lingered, a specter haunting the possibility of any future connection. Yet, in his words, she detected a sincerity she hadn't noticed before. Maybe this was a chance for both of them to confront their realities in ways they had been avoiding. "Yes, I know I can count on you in a professional capacity," she replied, searching for the right balance between vulnerability and guardedness. But can I count on you personally? This question hung in the air, palpable and charged. In that moment, everything could shift once again. The past pressed heavily on their shoulders, but it also shaped their places in the present. I want to prove I can be trustworthy again, Claire. It won't be easy, but I'm ready to put in the work, he replied. Something shifted in Tom's stance. He seemed determined, as though he too felt the weight of the decision that loomed over them. The nurses moved about the room, attending to their duties, which felt like a soft background score to their tense conversation. Claire's hand instinctively tightened around her baby, a protective gesture that felt instinctual. The raw effort required to redefine their relationship seemed daunting, blurring the lines between professional duties and personal regret. As Claire rested her newborn in the bassinet nearby, she glanced back at Tom, grappling with the surge of emotions. She wanted to scream, to demand absolute clarity about their future. Yet she also craved to forge ahead, to explore this newfound vulnerability without the baggage of the past. "Can we start with small steps?" she asked, the vulnerability raw in her tone. "We need to figure this out, not only for ourselves, but for our child." "Absolutely," he said, relief filling his expression. "I want more than anything to be there for you both. We can take it one day at a time." The promises voiced now felt fragile, yet undeniably filled with potential. Each day could present a new opportunity, a chance to rebuild trust where it had been shattered. Still, she wrestled with her own expectations and fears, knowing that every step forward could meet resistance from her heart. As the initial celebrations of a new life buzzed around her, Claire pondered how she could redefine her own narrative. If she allowed it, this experience could be not just about healing the rift between herself and Tom, but a broader journey of self-discovery that had been a long time coming. They could both evolve through this, perhaps into something wholly unexpected. Claire realized the challenges ahead would be substantial. Just as she must learn to trust Tom again, she must first learn to trust herself. The swirling questions of her identity, role, and the nature of forgiveness loomed large, a tapestry yet to be woven. She glanced back at Tom, their exchange charged with possibility. "The time has come for us to face what we've created. It begins now, doesn't it?" Tom nodded, the unspoken commitment weaving into their tangled history. Yet within Claire, an undercurrent of doubt still lingered. What lay ahead would either bind them together anew or tear them apart completely. All at once she wondered, could they truly rewrite their story together, or would the past cast too long a shadow over their future? Claire stared at the bassinet, inhaling the mingled scents of antiseptic and the faint sweetness of her baby's skin. A delicate balance of awe and anxiety fluttered within her. The moment felt surreal, and yet the reality of her situation began to seep in. Tom's presence was overwhelming, a potent reminder of a past she had meticulously tried to compartmentalize. "Small steps," she murmured to herself, trying to solidify that thought into a mantra. It was easy to draft a plan, but much more challenging to act on it, especially under the weight of their history. Trust was a fragile fabric. Once torn, it could never simply be stitched back together. Tom shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his gaze unyielding. "We can set boundaries if that makes things easier," he suggested, a hint of trepidation in his voice, aware that any misstep could fracture the delicate truce forming between them. "Boundaries," Claire echoed, nodding slowly. The word felt both comforting and constraining. Setting boundaries would delineate their roles, but it also felt like another cage. Could they navigate their new reality in a way that allowed both to heal? With newfound resolve, she took a deep breath. "Let's start with communication. We need to talk about how we can parent together. If we can be honest, we might just stumble onto the path we need to walk." Tom's expression brightened slightly. "That sounds good. I don't want to impose my ideas on you. I know I can be overbearing. It's just that I care so much." What did it mean for her to untangle herself from those emotions? Was it possible to separate his affection from her past wounds? She looked deep into his eyes, memories flooding back uninvited. Laughter, passion, betrayal. She clutched her baby tightly, grounding herself in the present. "Maybe caring isn't enough," she replied, her voice steady yet composed. "We'll need agreements on how to handle things like visitation, healthcare decisions, everything. I can't dive into this without a plan." "Of course," Tom answered, the acute awareness of his prior mistakes evident in his tone. "I want to be part of her life, but I also want to respect your space." Respecting her space, that was complex. A part of her wished to believe his intentions were sincere, that they could work together as partners in this parenting journey. Yet another part, whispering doubt, wondered if underlying motives still lurked within his earnest gaze. But the most pressing matter was to figure out how they would communicate. The simplest issues could become battlegrounds if they weren't careful. Claire remembered how they had spiraled out of control before, one misunderstanding leading to another, and she couldn't afford to allow history to repeat itself. "Let's schedule a time next week to sit down and talk," Claire proposed, feelers out as she gauged Tom's reaction. "Just you and I. No distractions. I want us to prioritize the baby over our past." "Absolutely," he agreed with a slight nod. "I appreciate that. I'll do anything to support this." Claire felt the faint pulse of hope flicker within her, yet she then noticed her baby stirring, drawing her attention. In that innocent moment, she realized her daughter would be the catalyst for change, the reason to push through the turbulent waters. And change she must. As the day unfolded, Claire immersed herself in the routines of motherhood, hoping the rhythm would help her process the whirlwind of emotions. Tom stayed nearby, contributing where he could, offering her a much-needed moment of reprieve. For the first time in a long while, Claire sensed a shift not just in their interaction, but also within herself. Each time she felt doubt creeping back in, she reminded herself of her daughter's presence. This new life represented potential, a blank canvas waiting to be painted with new experiences and memories. Behind the mask of responsibility lay an opportunity, a chance to explore who she was outside of the myriad roles she felt pinned beneath. But clarity was elusive, a mirage on the horizon. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden light into the nursery, Claire was infused with an unexpected determination. She would not allow her past to dictate her future. Yet another thought nagged at the edges of her mind. What if each step she took opened doors to further complications? And what if she stumbled into a confrontation she wasn't ready for? Just as doubts began to coalesce, her phone buzzed. A notification from Tom, asking if they could have dinner together soon. It felt innocent enough, yet a fire of anxiety ignited in her chest. Was he pushing for something more than just co-parenting? Claire found herself at a crossroads, where decisions would carry weight. In that moment, the prospect of facing not only Tom's desires, but her own personal development loomed larger than ever. How would she choose to navigate this new life, knowing it might lead her back into uncharted territory? The answer was just beyond her grasp. Dinner with Tom had felt deceptively casual, a mask for the weight of what lay beneath. Claire had picked a little cafe where the bustle of diners drowned out the hum of unresolved conversations. She sipped her water and traced the rim of her glass, her fingers trembling slightly. What were they pretending to do tonight? "I thought we could just talk about the baby," Tom began, leaning forward, his enthusiasm betrayed by a slight sheen of sweat on his brow. "You know, what we want for her. Maybe even how to share time with her?" "The baby," Claire echoed, her throat tightening. She wanted to keep it focused, this precious separation from everything else they had ever shared. "Yes, I think that's important." But was it really just about that? She fought back memories of their past, a roller coaster of love and turmoil. The shadows of those emotions loomed ominously over their current discussions. "I know I haven't been great," Tom continued, his voice shifting to a softer tone. "But I really want to do right by her." His earnestness pierced through her defenses, challenging the fortress she had built around her heart. But Claire recalled her own needs, her desire for independence, the promise she made to herself never to be trapped again. "Doing right by her means establishing a foundation of trust first," Claire said, firming her resolve. "Trust is something we need to rebuild slowly. It can't be forced, Tom." He nodded, acquiescing, but Claire caught a flicker of frustration in his eyes. Good. They needed to confront the discomfort head-on, no sugarcoating this time. "Let's set a schedule, days and times when we'll each have time with her," Claire suggested, sketches of strategy staying at the forefront of her mind. "We also need to agree on how we'll communicate. If there are conflicts, we address them right away. No more waiting for sparks to fly." Tom leaned back, considering her words. "That sounds fair. I can work with that. But Claire—" His voice hesitated, and his eyes searched hers with intensity. "What about us? Can we discuss how to handle this tension? I don't want to slip into being just co-parents." A wave of irritation crashed inside her at the perceived push. What part of their history warranted any hope for rekindling their relationship? Claire dug deep, determined to assert her boundaries. Us? She questioned, raising a brow. We need to focus on her first. That's the priority. The priority, sure, Tom replied, the trace of annoyance creeping into his tone. But you can't deny there's something left here, between us. Staring at him, Claire's heart raced. How could he still see remnants of a connection they had fought so hard to escape? She took a moment to steady herself, conscious of the exhaustion weaving through her joints. I don't think it's as simple as that. Can't we just try to be civil? The tension at the table shifted, and Tom folded his arms, retreating into a reluctant silence. Claire sensed his defeat and felt a dangerous swell of satisfaction within her, but it was short-lived. An ache festered in her chest. This was not the person she wanted to be, one who delighted in the pain of history. It was time to confront her internal conflicts and discover whether she might navigate this labyrinth of emotions without being consumed by it. So it's agreed. We'll establish schedules and boundaries around parenting, Claire said, puncturing the heavy atmosphere. And we can reevaluate later. Tom nodded slowly, his brows knitting together. Sure. Just know I'm here, Claire. I want to be a part of this, not just as an obligation. The words hung in the air, loaded with an unspoken question, a challenge to respond. As they exited the cafe, Claire felt an unsettling mix of determination and dread. What had she really agreed to? After they parted ways, Claire drove along the familiar streets, grappling with her thoughts. Moments flashed by, the laughter they once shared, the heartbreak that had shattered everything. It was undeniable that by choosing to co-parent, she was also re-engaging with a past that clawed at her soul. The weight of those memories pressed heavily on her as she pulled into the driveway. The house loomed large in the dark, a reminder of what she was attempting to build, overshadowed by the specter of unresolved feelings. And as the night grew deeper, Claire found herself alone in the quiet of her home, shadows stretching across the walls, her mind racing. Would the path forward require accepting the remnants of their past? What hidden capabilities would she need to uncover within herself to forge ahead with both Tom and their daughter? The echo of Tom's words reverberated through her thoughts, bringing with them a new and alarming awareness. She was about to step into uncharted territory, and the stakes were higher than ever. What truths would she uncover about herself? Would they lead her toward deeper wounds or unexpected strength? The morning light crept tentatively into Claire's kitchen, casting soft shadows against the pale blue walls. She stood at the counter, absently stirring coffee, the warm steam curling around her face. Today marked a month since that fateful dinner with Tom, and as she sipped her drink, a sense of urgency thrummed beneath her calm exterior. Time was slipping through her fingers, yet so too were the lessons this unexpected journey was teaching her. Each day, Claire adhered to her meticulously arranged schedule, a map guiding her through this tumultuous terrain of co-parenting and emotional recalibration. She took pride in her ability to compartmentalize. Mornings were for work, afternoons were for focused planning regarding their daughter, and evenings were reserved for reflection and personal time. Still, that precision felt increasingly like a crutch, one that she feared would ultimately fracture under the weight of her unresolved feelings. With her laptop open in front of her, Claire began drafting what she hoped would be a positive co-parenting communication guide. As she typed, her fingers began to dance across the keys, distilling her thoughts into precise words. This document would serve as both a professional scaffold and a personal accountability checklist. Envisioning how it might set clear boundaries made her heart race with determination. Yet when her phone rang, the vibration jolted her from her focus. It was Tom. Her stomach knotted as she hesitated before answering, wrestling with the myriad of emotions that surged within her. Claire took a deep breath, reminding herself of the foundation she was trying to build. "What's up?" she said, keeping her tone neutral, almost businesslike. "I just wanted to go over the schedule again. I found some flexibility in my work hours," Tom replied. His voice was steady, exuding a professionalism that almost disarmed her. "Great," Claire responded, mentally marking the new dates. She noted the shift in him, not just in scheduling but in attitude, a willingness to engage in a manner she hadn't expected. They discussed logistics, each adjustment gradually building a framework of cooperation that felt surprisingly productive. By the end, a sense of relief settled over her. This might actually work, she thought, even as doubt lingered in the corners of her mind. As Claire hung up, a nagging curiosity bubbled up. Could there still be an opportunity for a friendship? or even shared respect amidst this co-parenting arrangement? Was it naive to hope for a future free of emotional turmoil? She paused, realizing how much her perception had shifted. Claire wasn't merely seeking to guard herself. She was also grappling with the realization that personal growth often involved navigating the complexities of human connection, even with someone as tumultuous as Tom. With renewed focus, Claire returned to her guide, adding sections on maintaining communication without gridlock and establishing personal space. Each word brought a sense of empowerment, a recognition of her own capacity to shape her reality. It was time, Claire decided, to confront her emotional landscape head-on, not just as a co-parent, but as an individual learning to thrive independently. She recognized a critical moment approaching, a turning point where she would need to dig deeper into her emotional arsenal and summon the courage to openly address her own fears. The following day, she scheduled a bittersweet visit with her therapist. Claire needed to excavate not only her vulnerabilities, but also the hidden strengths she had been underselling. With each session, new layers of trauma and triumph emerged, weaving a tapestry of self-awareness. As she prepared for her appointment, Claire felt a swell of urgency. She needed clarity, for herself and her daughter. But in that moment, the ground shifted beneath her. A text popped up on her phone from Tom, sharing an unexpected bombshell about his upcoming day. "Hey Claire, my shift changed. I'll be in the delivery room for the baby's birth. Just thought you'd want to know." Her heart raced at the implications. Not only was her reality shifting again, but now Tom would be intimately involved in a moment she had envisioned as solely her own. The tension was palpable, a tug-of-war between anxiety and excitement coursing through her like a live wire. What did this mean for their arrangement, for their connection? As Claire sat in the silence that had once shielded her, two thoughts collided. She felt both engulfed by the past and drawn into an uncertain future. The stakes were rising, and she was standing on the precipice of change. Would this new chapter propel her towards healing, or lead them deeper into turmoil? She didn't know, but something essential awaited her on the other side of this revelation. How could she reconcile the roles of co-parent and individual with such a shift in dynamics? Claire's mind raced as the implications of Tom's message settled in her thoughts. The delivery room, once a sacred space just for her, now felt overcrowded with shared moments and expectations. This wasn't just about the baby. It represented an intersection of their lives that she wasn't ready to confront. Would she be able to embrace this reluctant partnership, or would old wounds resurface, dragging her back into unresolved conflict? Determined to find some clarity before her therapy session, Claire shifted her focus inward. She sketched out possible scenarios in her notebook, jotting down her fears, expectations, and potential reactions to seeing Tom as the physician responsible for her child's birth. It struck her how simplistic her original views were. She would be a mother, and he would be an ex-husband, distant and uninvolved. But now, he'd occupy a role that had always been defined through a lens of personal conflict rather than professional distance. A tug-of-war swirled in her stomach. Was she prepared to see him in this new light? It was jarring to acknowledge that Tom's presence could shift her experience from autonomy to a cooperative endeavor, or worse, bring a resurgence of their tumult. Pushing the intrusive thoughts aside, she concentrated on her breathing, practicing grounding techniques she had learned in therapy. When her appointment time arrived, she entered the therapist's office, feeling equal parts apprehensive and resolute. As she settled into the familiar chair, she shared the multifaceted complexities of her situation, allowing each emotion to flow. "I thought I could handle this on my own," Claire admitted, feeling both defensive and vulnerable. "Now everything feels intertwined, like a web I can't escape." Her therapist nodded thoughtfully, guiding Claire to unravel her knots of anxiety. "What fears are you holding on to about Tom's involvement in the birth?" she probed. Claire considered carefully. "I fear losing control. I fear we'll fall back into old patterns, and I'll end up feeling helpless again. But it's essential to see this as an opportunity as well," her therapist responded, subtly pushing Claire to reframe her narrative. "You have new tools now, new insights into yourself. Embrace this tension. It can foster growth." Reflected in her therapist's encouragement, Claire started to recognize her burgeoning inner strength. The apprehension surrounding Tom's emergence as a significant figure in an intimate moment of her life could serve as a catalyst for her evolution. But that acknowledgement came with its own set of complications. She needed clear boundaries and a plan to cope with the potential emotional aftermath. Inspired by her therapist's guidance, Claire envisioned a golden opportunity to establish clarity moving forward. She would articulate her expectations to Tom, calmly asserting her needs while navigating this uncharted territory. After the session, with newfound determination, Claire began drafting an email to Tom. It was more than just a logistical discussion. This was a chance to address their shared commitment to co-parenting without losing her sense of self. "Tom," she began carefully, each word weighted with intent. "I want to talk about the birth and your role in it. I need to establish some boundaries and expectations to ensure we're both comfortable. This is new territory for both of us, and I think clarity will help us navigate it." As she hit send, a sense of liberation washed over her. Riding the emotional roller coaster of the day, Claire realized she was crafting her reality, one where her needs were acknowledged and prioritized. But as evening descended and the weight of the day pressed upon her, her phone buzzed again. "I think we should discuss this in person," Tom replied almost instantly. The subtext of his response was unmissable. This was not just a professional dialogue. It was a personal invitation back into their tangled history. Was she prepared to do that? To meet Tom face to face and refine their communication while the ghosts of their past loomed overhead? The moment felt pivotal, and while she longed to avoid more complications, she realized she couldn't evade this pivotal conversation forever. Taking a deep breath, Claire felt a flicker of both excitement and apprehension. She was at the brink of transforming her relationship with Tom, testing boundaries on the way to her own self-discovery. What might this meeting reveal about their connection, and could it bring the healing she so desperately sought? Claire knew she had to confront what lay ahead, armed with intention and courage, as she stood on the edge of transformation. Claire stared at the blinking cursor on her screen, heart pounding in time with her racing thoughts. Tom wanted to meet in person. The implications were heavy, looming like dark clouds in a restless sky. Could she truly navigate this conversation unscathed? As she deliberated, an inner voice urged her to stand firm. In a bid to steel herself, Claire reviewed her mental inventory of coping strategies. She would practice active listening and remain assertive, keeping her emotions in check. She noted, of all things, that Tom had always been good at disarming her, drawing her back into patterns that felt all too familiar. This time, however, she had tools at her disposal. What she lacked in certainty, she would make up for in preparation and resolve. The next day, as she arrived for the scheduled meeting, Claire felt the familiar drizzle of anxiety push against her composure. The cafe they chose was unassuming, and as she stepped inside, it felt like walking into a psychological maze of nostalgia and uncertainty. The aroma of brewed coffee swirled around her, merging with her memories of shared laughs, the good times that echoed of a simpler past, but felt painfully distant now. When Tom arrived, she absorbed every detail: his posture, the slightly worn leather jacket he had always favored, and the pursed lips that hinted at an uncomfortable conflict of emotions. "Hey," he greeted, his eyes searching hers, attempting to glean her mood. "Let's order first," Claire suggested, using the routine to divert her apprehension. As the barista took their orders, a whisper of doubt crept in. Was she truly ready to walk this line between civility and vulnerability? Settling into a corner booth, Claire cleared her throat, determined to own the narrative that awaited them. "Thanks for agreeing to meet. I think it's important, especially now that the birth is approaching." She watched him intently, noting both his interest and the subtle tension in his response. "Yeah, I felt it'd be better to talk about it in person," Tom replied, his eyes transiently flitting toward the window as if searching for answers in the passing cars. "I want this to go smoothly, for both of us." Claire took a deep breath and leaned in, feeling the weight of her words. "I appreciate that, and I want to reiterate my need for boundaries. This journey affects both of us, but I need to ensure it doesn't pull us back into old habits. My focus must remain on the baby." The flicker of recognition in Tom's eyes sparked hope within her. He nodded slowly, as if chewing over her words. "I get that. I truly do. I don't want to go back to where we were either. We can co-parent effectively." The conversation flowed, but not without breaking into the undercurrents of their shared past. Old wounds prickled as innocent memories danced between their current realities. "You know," he began, tracing patterns on the table absently, "it's hard to forget what we went through. Sometimes I wonder if we're fully ready to let each other into our lives again, even in this capacity." That was it. The crux of her tension. Would they ever truly be free of the patterns that once defined them? Claire felt a surge of assertiveness. It is crucial to remain focused on the present and the future we're building for our child. I won't let us get sidelined by unresolved feelings. We must communicate clearly, and if conflicts arise, we address them directly." His gaze softened, and she noted the way his shoulders relaxed slightly. "You're right, Claire. I want to commit to this in a way that helps us both." Emboldened by her clarity, she felt a surge of empowerment. Yet, an unsettling thought lingered in the recesses of her mind. What ungrounded emotions might this connection evoke in them both as they oscillated between past and present? As their discussion deepened, promising redirection began to manifest. Claire recognized not just potential, but the raw need for honest dialogue. The encounter could very well be a crucible of transformation for both of them, setting the stage for a different chapter in their lives. Later that evening, she reflected on the potential shifts in their dynamic as she returned home. Could this meeting inspire her to hold fast to her intentions while dismantling past mistrust? The essence of healing hung tantalizingly close. Drawing in a steadying breath, she penned her thoughts into her journal. "Today, I took a step towards owning my narrative." But as she closed the journal, a familiar wave of unease rose within her. Her phone buzzed again. Yet another message from Tom. "Claire, can we talk again soon? I think we're onto something crucial here." Was she truly prepared to dive deeper into this evolving relationship, or would her progress risk unraveling everything she had built? The delicate balance hung in the air, and Claire knew the next move would demand both her resolve and an openness she could scarcely fathom. Claire tossed and turned that night, sleep eluding her while thoughts churned in her mind. The first real conversation with Tom had left her feeling more empowered, yet the unsettling undercurrent of uncertainty remained. The delicate balance of boundaries she'd begun to establish felt tenuous, teetering on the edge of what could be. The following morning brought with it a flood of apprehension as she read Tom's last message again. "Can we talk again soon?" The words echoed, and Claire wondered what more there was to discuss. They had established ground rules, hadn't they? The weight of his unanswered questions pressed against her, and her fingers tightened around her phone. Should she reply now, or wait until the thoughts crystallized? Also, the inevitable pregnancy-related hormonal fluctuations were amplifying every emotional ripple, making her feel both vulnerable and strong simultaneously. It was maddening. She decided to engage with her journal before addressing Tom's message, needing clarity. As she wrote about her fears of falling back into old patterns, she realized she had an opportunity not only to set boundaries, but to find her own voice within this co-parenting dynamic. The thought transformed from an abstract worry into a spark of resolve. After a few moments of reflection, she clicked open her messaging app and typed, "Hey, I'm open to talking. Just let me know when." The response felt steely. She was in control, yet her heart raced at the prospect of their next conversation. The day passed slowly, each tick of the clock amplifying her anticipation. Their planned meetup loomed on the horizon, a threshold she would have to cross once again. The small co-parent app notifications buzzed incessantly, highlighting appointments and discussions about baby necessities. She realized they weren't just planning a co-parenting structure, but also constructing a bridge over a past filled with turbulence. When the time finally came, Claire stepped into the cafe once again, her thoughts racing. Tom was already seated, tapping nervously at his phone. She recognized his anxiety mirrored her own. Taking a deep breath, she entered the cafe and approached. "Hey," she said, shedding her initial hesitation as she slid into the seat opposite him. "Thanks for coming again," he replied, his voice barely concealing the tension. There was an earnestness in his expression, a hint of sincerity that caught her off guard. Claire held her ground. "Let's get to the heart of the matter. What's on your mind?" "I've been thinking about what you said, about boundaries and the future. I realize that while I want to be involved, I also need to be upfront about my feelings." Tom stalled, his hands fluttering between anxiety and clarity. "Feelings? Like what?" Claire leaned a fraction closer. She did not want to backtrack now. He seemed to gather strength from her interest. "I mean, it's a lot to process, being involved in your life and the baby's life. I care, Claire, and I don't want to just be another background character." His candor surprised her. "Then let's talk about that. What does being involved look like to you?" She pushed, determined to shape the direction of the conversation. Tom swallowed, his brow furrowing. "I think it means being present, not just physically but emotionally too. I want to walk this journey with you, like partners but respectful of the boundaries you established." Claire nodded, feeling a wave of empathy wash over her. His desire to be more than just another face in the crowd resonated with her growing need for a co-parent she could trust. Yet, the deeper she dug, the more layers revealed themselves. Were they equipped to navigate all of this together? And what of her own emotional vulnerability? As they discussed their paths, the conversation spilled over into hours. Claire noted Tom's sincerity, and with each word, her initial doubts started to peel away. Yet still, something lingered. A deeper thread of unspoken emotions tugged at her. Just before they parted, Claire took a leap. "Tom, can you give me one thing? If feelings start to cloud this partnership, promise we'll talk openly about it without letting it overshadow the baby?" His response was immediate. "Absolutely. I don't want us to sidestep anything." Yet as she left, Claire faced a moment of reckoning. Walking out into the bustling street, she felt a stirring sensation. This relationship could be transformative, both for her and for him. But could she truly maintain the progress she had made? Her phone vibrated to life again, a follow-up message from Tom. "Claire, wait. There's something you might need to know. Something about my profession," it read. Cold dread cascaded through her. What revelation loomed beyond the horizon? As unexpected news trembled in the air, Claire's heartbeat quickened, and she braced herself for whatever storm awaited her. Would this decision to engage cost her the progress she fought hard to build? Claire stood at the edge of a precipice, ready to leap into the unknown. The weight of Tom's latest message hung heavy in her mind, twisting her stomach into tight knots. What more could he possibly reveal? Was it related to the birth, to their co-parenting arrangement, or something entirely different? As she walked home, the familiar routes blurred into a haze of uncertainty and anticipation. She needed to face this directly, after the strides they had made in establishing a functional relationship for the sake of their child. Claire resolved to respond with clarity, determination, and an openness she had been cultivating over the past months. Arriving at her front door, she paused, taking a deep breath as she unlocked it. Inside, reality came rushing back. The baby's room filled with new toys, diapers, and an atmosphere infused with the scent of fresh paint. This was where her new life awaited. Confident in the steps she had taken toward personal growth, Claire settled onto her couch with her laptop. She replied to Tom, determination simmering beneath her fingertips. "I'm ready to talk, Tom. Whatever it is, let's discuss it openly. Our baby is our priority." With the click of the send button, she felt an odd mixture of relief and anxious energy. She had committed not just to a conversation, but to the promise of transformation. The power of taking charge became her shield against the past. Every decision since the birth of her daughter had led her here. It was more than co-parenting. It was about redefining her narrative while navigating the storied terrain of her relationship with Tom. The sun dipped lower, casting a warm glow through her windows as she awaited his reply, each passing minute stretching like an eternity. She used the time to reflect, rereading her notes on their previous dialogue about boundaries, trust, and establishing mutual goals. She had developed a framework for moving forward. The strength she had uncovered within herself began to shine through as her compass. She could do this. They could do this. Finally, the familiar ping of her phone jolted her from her thoughts. Tom's message lit up the screen. "Can we meet at the cafe again? It's important." The urgency in his words dug deep into her resolve, but she felt a surge of confidence. Yes, it was important. They needed to approach this together, no matter how tangled their past. She replied affirmatively, agreeing to meet in an hour. When Claire arrived at the cafe, she took a moment before stepping inside to center herself. There was purpose in every step. This could either reinforce the progress they'd made or challenge the very foundations they had begun to establish. As she entered, she spotted Tom sitting at their usual table, a shadow of vulnerability mixed with determination on his face. "Thank you for coming," he started before she could even pull out a chair. "I know this can't be easy for either of us. Let's get to the point, Tom," Claire replied, her tone firm yet open. "What's going on?" He hesitated, running a hand through his hair, a gesture that once disarmed her but now became just a part of the character he played. "I've been thinking about how involved I want to be in our daughter's life, and there's something you should know about my work that can affect how we plan our co-parenting." Her heart raced again. Was he contemplating another shift in priorities along with the pending birth? "I'm being offered a chance to go on a surgical fellowship to enhance my skills. It's a significant opportunity, but it would take me away for several months." Claire's thoughts swirled. In that moment, the world seemed to shrink around her. Tom's decision could fragment their carefully laid plans. Yet as those concerns pressed in, she found herself anchoring to her own growth. The clarity she had ignited within illuminated her path. You need to pursue your opportunities, Tom. I want you to succeed. But how do you see this affecting your role as a father? He looked genuinely torn, the conflict reflecting in his hesitant gaze. I want to commit. I don't want to lose out on moments with her, but also feel this is something crucial for my career. Then it's time we plan together, she asserted. Whatever schedule you establish, let's create a framework that allows you to be involved while also prioritizing your fellowship. This was a step forward, a chance at proving they could maintain a working relationship even through the challenges. Tom's relief was palpable. I want to assure you, despite the move for advancement, I will find ways to be present. Our daughter deserves that. Claire could see the earnestness behind his statements, a stark contrast to the man she had initially mistrusted. Her heart fluttered with hope. Could this be the moment where they could rebuild, not just co-parent effectively, but develop mutual respect for one another? For the first time, she caught a glimpse of a new future. The narrative evolving was not just about coping, but about creating a shared legacy for their child. Together. As they moved forward in conversation, discussing plans, schedules, and the intersection of their professional and personal identities, Claire felt a wave of fulfillment crest. She had achieved a breakthrough, not just in her relationship with Tom, but within herself. By evening, Claire emerged with renewed determination. The tension that had once tethered her to the past began to fray as her ability to assert herself took shape. She wasn't just a co-parent. She was a woman who had harnessed the chaos around her into focus, transforming her narrative. At home, she cradled her daughter, gazing into the innocent eyes that held the potential she had always sought. With a sense of pride, Claire reflected on her journey. Torn apart but now stitched back together into something stronger, ready to face not only the challenges ahead, but also the beauty of growth in the face of adversity. This was her individual achievement, redefining relationships, confronting emotional turbulence, and emerging with a new sense of self-sufficiency and empowerment. The realization flooded her with satisfaction. She was capable, and she had conquered her own fears. Now, more than ever, she understood the importance of celebrating personal victories and ongoing growth. To all who have followed Claire's story, subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and theories about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second to share. Only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.